Living Legends was never intended to be only a recognition program. It was intended to be a photo documentary project to tell the stories of the people. And that's a really important element, because in Alexandria there are probably a dozen different recognition programs that are all good. This is across the board.
I am the oldest of 4 children. I went to Maggie Walker High School, which is named for my great aunt on my mom's side. And I also went to Virginia Union University, and I have a master's in social work from Virginia Commonwealth University.
My dad was in the service, and he got out of the service in the early 1950s, and the family settled in Northern Virginia here. And growing up, I hung out a lot in Old Town Alexandria. I would take the bus down King Street, go to the Reed Theater, hang out at dockside sales down on the waterfront, went to the municipal swimming pool, had Sunday dinner at Seaport Inn. Wonderful childhood, a lot of great memories.
I was born at Columbia Hospital for Women in Washington, D.C., but my mom immediately took me to Calvert County, Maryland, to live with my grandmom and her, because my mom, unfortunately, back then was not married when she had me. It made a hard life for her, because back then they didn't accept that unmarried mother thing as well as they do now.
I'm a daughter of a military family, so I was born in Montgomery, Alabama, and I went to college in a very small town called Kirksville, Missouri, which was very hard to get used to when you're used to the metropolitan area and your local news is national and international news. And in Kirksville, the news you only get is how tall the corn is and the pig cost and that type of thing. So it was quite an adjustment to get used to a very small town, but it was my first exposure to what a small town can feel like. So that was very important to the rest of my life.
I was born in York, Pennsylvania, which is 100 miles north of here in Pennsylvania Dutch country, in the kind of the edge of town on a lumber company property, rental house, where I was fortunate to be able to play with the little pieces of leftover wood from the sawmill that was just behind my house. And the trains went by, 500 feet away from the house, dumping coal. It was a very wonderful place to grow up, and I could get on my bicycle and drive out to cornfields in less than 5 minutes.
I was young when I was graduated. I was just 16 and got a job right away for the Navy Department, and I thought I was all grown up. And when my folks thought that they could tell me what to do, I thought, well, no, not really. And so when I was 18, I left and I came to Washington because I wanted to get a job overseas for the State Department. But I had to wait until my security clearance came in, so I came to live here.
I came to the United States right after September the 11th. Things were very difficult for me at that time. I immigrated to seek medical support for my son. And coming to Alexandria was an amazing opportunity. I was working as an AmeriCorps volunteer at that time, and I've met a person that had an incredible building. I had a vision to create a women's empowerment organization, a museum. He fell in love with my vision and he offered, would you like to come here and try your idea?
Was working in DC and wanted to move back to Alexandria. And I guess in the mid-70s, I was looking at a house in Del Rey, corner of Windsor and Leslie. And I wanted to get back into the community, and that's how it started.
After having gone to college in a small town where you have a square and everybody knows your name and you walk around, moved to Alexandria and immediately fell in love with it. Originally I lived on the West End and then heard about Del Rey when we were looking to buy a house, and immediately fell in love with just the front porches and the walkability of Delray. So that's how I ended up in Delray. Of course, in 1983, it was very different than what you see today.
Developed some staff training for Hopkins House. I volunteered as a social worker for the Alexandria Tenants Council, and I became friends with Dorothy Turner and Gwen Menifee, who were also named Living Legends a few years ago. And just became involved, started doing voter registration. And at that time, Ira Robinson was running for city council, so I became involved in Ira's campaign. He was elected. He was the first black to be elected since Reconstruction. And here I am, young, black, no planning experience, big mouth. I can interpret stuff and, you know, have analytical mind and that kind of thing. And I was really good for the Planning Commission. I served 8 years on the Planning Commission. When I came off, I was the first black female to run for city council. I did not win, but I still stayed involved with the community, especially with affordable housing and affordable health care, which were my two main issues all along. And continuing to do stuff in the city is what led to my being nominated for Living Legend. I didn't do what I did to get awards, but I have gotten so many, which I appreciate, because it means that the people in the community appreciate what it is that I have done. But if I didn't get any awards, I still would have done it because it needed to be done, and that's just the way I was brought up.
I had no idea what it meant to be an immigrant. I didn't know what's going to look like, what's going to feel like. I just experienced this firsthand. I realized that not speaking the language, not having credentials from this country, it was a very isolating experience. And in feeling this, I began to connect with a larger community of immigrant women who, like myself, needed the guidance and support and the economic support to make dreams come true. I enrolled in community college to develop English skills, and this place I met an incredible community of women who I realized that all they needed was a little bit of guidance, was a little bit of support, and a little bit of infusion of belief. That if they could truly believe that they are here for a reason and that American dream still flickers in their heart, they could possibly accomplish it. We work with women who experience anything from domestic abuse to trauma to homelessness to human trafficking. And those are women who at some point they were somebody. Women who have lost everything in moving from one place to another, one country to another, leaving a family or a husband to be in a new place. In seeing their struggle, in understanding what they experience, and seeing how they're really regrouping, reinvigorating, re-believing every day, it's been incredible.
Being able to contribute, feeling part of this community of Alexandria, as time went on, feeling a part of the larger opera community in the Washington metro area and even beyond, giving opportunities to other people, other artists. I got called to direct the Borga piece. Mr. Borga said, I'll bring singers from New York. I said, hey, you don't need to do that. I said, how about I arrange an audition for you? And he selected all local singers. It was fantastic. Now, the look on kids' faces when they make an opera about civil rights in Virginia, 1607 to 1964, for example, and they go through history and make connections with the pieces of information, and they do the connective tissue, and they surround it with song and movement. Oh boy, doesn't get better.
When I moved to Alexandria, I got known to Miss Eula Miller, and that little lady, tenacious, never quit on making sure she was a part of individuals getting an education. She's my mentor. I'm kind of a behind-the-scenes kind of person, giving guidance and direction and encouragement for things to happen and trying to see what I can do to move it forward. my children were the key, because wherever they were, I had to know everything about that. I don't care if it was in the school, the city government, recreation, whatever. I had to find out what was going on. And so the things that I've connected with over the years have always involved children and families.
I guess I've always had a fantasy of owning my own chili parlor. Chili's been a big hobby, and I had a business associate who told me about a piece of property on Upper King Street, and I decided to take the leap and became part of the Alexandria business community. The inspiration has come from the people who have gone through our ranks. We've had some incredible people who work for us these 30-plus years. Some of them who are still with us, but others who have had hard times on their resume have gone on to be doctors, lawyers, stockbrokers. We even had an airline pilot. I have this old truck that we bought, a fiberglass horse that we have in the back, and we use it for the 3 parades in the city. It's George Washington birthday parade and St. Patrick's Day parade and the Christmas parade. I get a big kick out of that. That's one of the best parts. The variety of people that come into the hard times. It's not uncommon to see grandmother sitting next to a biker at the bar. There's a whole broad spectrum of folks. It's very gratifying to know that Chile is a sort of a common denominator for all these people.
I had a photography business in Old Town for a long time, and photographed a lot of people, and I also had an archives that worked. It was a system where I could find something. The city came to me, and the local Gazette Packet newspaper came to me, and they were looking for pictures of people who had died because they wanted to do stories on them. And when I didn't have the pictures in my library, a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, we can solve this problem for the future. We can photograph people while they're alive. And that grew into not only photographing them, but telling their stories.
We did the first block party and thinking we'd have 50, 100 people show up. And what we found out was the community was dying for an excuse to get out of their house and walk up to the avenue and walk around. Even though there weren't a lot of businesses, they wanted to get out. New people were moving in. And so we started to try to figure out what were ways we could do more things to get people involved, and also to bring people to Delray to support the new businesses that were moving in. The businesses have always come through for us 100%, and I can't say enough about how small businesses give back to the community and make the community.
I want to thank my grandmother who gave me that tenacity, that in spite of whatever else, you are loved. You are loved. My aunties, you are loved. No matter how you came into this world, you are loved.
Without the support of my family, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this. And then, of course, I want to thank Ira for really kind of giving me a push. And I want to thank Dorothy and Gwen and all of the other friends that I've made in Alexandria who have supported me and helped me and have helped me do the things that led to my getting this award.
I would love to dedicate this honor to all the women that I have ever worked with here in Alexandria, across the region, and around the world. Our work has been part of a global movement. We're not working in isolation, and I think there's millions of women and men who are part of this dream. So I want to thank everyone who had touched the heart of Empowered Women International and who's been along on this journey to make change.
Thanks to my amazing older brother, with just 2 of us. He's been my great pal, supporter, and his wonderful children, and my godson. And thanks to my husband, Dan, and his 3 beautiful stepchildren, Andrew, Jeff, and Gabby, for giving me the opportunity to care for them.
The city supported the hard times supported my family supported me, and I support the city doing as much fundraisers and promotional work.
I have two wonderful daughters who missed me a lot as they were growing up, as we were doing meeting after meeting or event after event. And so they probably are the ones that I want to thank the most for allowing me to do those things over all these years, and just to, I think they know how much I have always loved them and how appreciative I am.
It is meeting people, it's developing relationships with people. I think no matter what you want to do, that's the most important thing you can learn, is dealing with people, meeting them, being responsible, listening to what they have to say, saying what you have to say. More than being a photographer or a writer or a mathematician, if there's something that you want to do, it's the people that help you do it.